Ability is what you're capable of doing, motivation determines what you do, and attitude determines how well you do it. Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of the Athlete Podcast sponsored by Sports for Champions. Today I am delighted to be joined by Reading footballer Faye Bryson. How are you today, Faye?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, not so bad, thank you. We start these podcasts off the same way every time. Can you tell us a little bit about how you got into football? I believe you were trying all different sports and kind of fell into it.
Yeah, so for me it was just like when I was younger, mum and dad were like, oh, try whatever sport you want. So I was doing like dancing, I was doing jiu-jitsu, like just anything I could try. Like in primary school I was trying every sport, and it was that I was at a jiu-jitsu class and I came out and seen girls playing football and was just like, that's a bit strange. So for me it was like, I wanted to go and try that. I played in primary school, but I never knew that girls could play football like outside of it. So went and joined, but back then there was no league for the girls, so it was like, whoever wanted to actually play matches, I had to go and play for a boys team. So started at a boys team, and obviously then it was like I was like the alien of the team. It was like, oh, there's a girl in our team, do we tackle her, do we not? And then as soon as I started playing, it was like I was like one of the lads essentially. But so yeah, I started there, and that's kind of like how I got attracted to football and was just like, wow, I want to play this.
So were you really athletic when you were sort of as a young kid, like as a noticeably different to some of the other kids or some of the other girls?
Yeah, I think, well, like I was tiny when I was younger. I'm still small now, but like I was tiny when I was younger, and I just had loads of energy and just wanted to try everything. And yeah, like anything that involved being active, I was just like wanted to try it.
And you touched on it then, the attitudes to girls in football. Obviously it's something that's getting better, but I imagine when you were first starting out, like you said, would the boys be like, how would the boys react on your team?
I think like even like a stem from like primary school, like it'd be like, oh, like I don't want her in my team, she's a girl. But then when like I started playing more and more with them, I ended up being like first pick in the team because they were like, oh yeah, like we want Faye on our team. So I think, yeah, like back then, I'd say there was a lot of like, oh, she's a girl, she can't play football. And I do still think there's some sort of stigma around women playing football now, but it's definitely getting better. And, you know, seeing how women are performing in sports and like what they're achieving, especially with the back of the Euros that just happened last year, like the more people are like seeing it on social media, like it's definitely becoming so much bigger.
Yeah, hopefully they kick down the door for all the other girls to then follow through and sort of build on that legacy. You said then that you weren't able to play for the girls team, so you had to go and play for a boys team. So was there just no competitive games for the girls team that you first joined?
Yeah, just because back then there was no like league for like girls, so it was like if you wanted to play you had to go and play in a boys team. And I know now like that's something that girls still do, like they play with boys up until I think the cut-off age is like under 14s or something, where they've got to then purely play for a girls team. But like looking back on it now and then looking at it like modern day now, I'd actually say to young girls, like play with the boys until you can, because it's a lot more physical, it's faster, like, and you will progress faster doing that. So then you'll learn a lot more like of skills and stuff, and you know, being that player who can like push yourself about. And then when you transition into the girls league, I feel like you will be a better player. So like, although I'd say back then, oh, there wasn't any girls teams, like, and I had to play for a boys team, if I was younger me now, I'd actually want to play with the boys until I no longer could.
Yeah, it makes sense. What kind of player were you back then?
I'd say I was a little like tenacious player. Like because I was small, I was like running around, like putting in tackles as hard as I could, because if I didn't I was getting bodied on the floor, to be honest. But yeah, like I was like a little Jack Russell.
And were you quick or were you more technical?
I'd say I was probably more quick, but like I'd probably say back then and kind of now, like I'd probably say I was more like an old school player, like kind of like a Jamie Carragher. I'll take the ball on the player.
yeah, that's good. We love to see it. And then so Jamie Carragher brings us on nicely to, I think it was, you were around 12 years old, were you, when you first sort of went for a trial at Liverpool Academy?
Yeah, so I was a little bit younger. I was like 7 or 8 when I went to Liverpool. And then,
Sorry, you were at Liverpool until
yeah,
12,
yeah.
my bad.
That's great. So yeah, I went to go and trial for Liverpool about 7 years old and got into their academy. So yeah, I was there for 5 years before I transitioned over to Everton.
That's a tough transition for any girl from Liverpool. Which team do you support?
I actually support Liverpool, so
yeah.
Yeah, it was quite hard wearing the shirt, like wearing the crest very close to my heart, but
How was the family with it?
do you know what? They would rather see me in a Liverpool kit, but for them it was just like there's 2 teams in Liverpool and to play for one of them was a massive achievement, so
Yeah, I'm sure they're proud of you either way.
yeah.
And then, so you were at Liverpool from 7 till 12. How was the experience, obviously being around such a huge club and then going from playing with boys exclusively to then being in a girls team? How was that?
Do you know what? Like, it felt like my own self. I felt like proud to be wearing like such a big kit. I was like, so because when I was younger, I always supported Liverpool, and then to finally like wear the kit, I was like, it was like a sense of pride. Like I could go around and be like to the boys, "Oh, look, I play for Liverpool." Do you know what I mean? Like, so then it kind of backed up the fact of we can play football. So yeah, like, I mean, to say I've played for both big teams in Liverpool, like being a Scouser, like there's nothing better really.
Yeah, that's so many people's dream across the country. And I think there's some an unfortunate family event caused you to take a bit of time away from the game just when you were about 11 or 10. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, so when I was in Liverpool's academy, I lost my brother at the age of 10. So it kind of made me put football to the back of my mind, and I actually like left the academy to go and basically play for a grassroots team. And then from then I kind of realised, obviously I was like sort of grieving like my brother, but I don't think I'd fully understood it until I was like maybe 14, 15. But yeah, back then when I moved, I came away from the academy because kind of football was my last thing on my mind back then. So it was like I went to go and play for the grassroots team, and I quickly realised that because I'd been in the academy for so long, like the ability, like it wasn't like strenuous enough for me. It was like, oh, I'm actually like I've developed a lot more than grassroots now, so I ended up going back into the academy. But for me it was just a realisation of taking that step back and then seeing the level. It was like, no, I am good enough to do this, and I want this to be my focus, and I want this to be my future career. So for me it was then flipping the mindset of, okay, I've lost my brother, but I'm going to use that to drive myself in my career. So for me, it's like, even now, if I'm running and I'm tired, it's like, no, I'm doing this for Connor, I'm doing this for my brother. So for me, it's like a motivation now.
Yeah, that's amazing. Your family must be so proud. Was it difficult coming back into it, or did you find that the break had kind of like refreshed you, kind of almost?
Yeah, it was kind of like a refresh, to be honest, because like I said then, it kind of made me realise my ability and go, no, this is something for me. And yeah, I think obviously being a young 10, 11-year-old, it was like I knew what had gone on, but I wasn't pretty sure of how to deal with it. So it was not until I was like 14, 15 that I actually started to grieve it and be like, all the emotions started coming and stuff. So back then it was, I'd say, dropping into grassroots and then joining the academy again. That was like a little refresh because I hadn't started the grieving phase yet.
So much to deal with at such a young age. I think anyone would have struggled, definitely. But it sounds like you kind of turned it around to make the most of the situation, and obviously used it to spur you on. Having made the transition over to Everton, I think you were quite quickly made captain. Do you think, well, first of all, what qualities do you think make a good captain, and do you think that your life experience helped you with that?
I think like the qualities of a captain, I think like first, and like the first thing as a captain, you need to be someone who people can come to, people can talk to. And like for me, I've always been like a person who always checks up on everyone, because for me, I knew what it felt like to be like low, losing someone. Like, so for me, it was like even the little things. Someone was upset because they wasn't playing, someone was upset because they were dealing with something outside of football. Like for me, like it was like go and check on them. So like I was the person who would always make sure everyone was okay. Still I'm that person now. So I think like just good qualities of captain is being someone who people feel comfortable to come and talk to. They know that that won't go any further, like, and then being someone who can motivate people. And yeah, I think I've always had them qualities since I was younger. So yeah, I was lucky enough to captain Everton from under 12s up until the under 23s.
That's amazing. I think making a strong tackle every now and then probably helps too.
Yeah.
And then at 18, I believe you achieved your first pro contract. Is that right?
Yeah.
How did that feel?
It felt amazing. Obviously, like being from Liverpool and, like I said before, the two big teams. Like, obviously, it was a team who didn't support out of the two, but like it was a massive achievement. And to sign that on your 18th birthday, you can't ask for a better present, can you?
That's amazing. And then I think with that pro contract came leaving behind a bit of a different life and approach to football. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, so before I signed my pro contract with Everton, we were only part-time. So I actually went to university and studied physical education, and then I also had my own coaching business across primary schools. So it was full on. It was go in, work in the primary schools, catch up on university, and then go to train. And it was just repeat. And I think once I'd signed on my 18th birthday, once I'd signed my pro contract, it was like I had a decision to make. It was like, right, we're going full time now. Like, do I want this to be my focus, my career? And that for me, there was no second guessing. It was like, yeah, this is what I want. So it was putting aside, I'd finished university, so that was one box ticked. And then it was putting aside the coaching business because I wanted to make it as a footballer. So it was like, right, my focus now is literally football.
And did you see a big impact on how you felt in terms of your training, nutrition, just like even sleep, I imagine, would be affected?
Yeah, well, it like as soon as I like pushed aside all that stuff and focused, it was like, right, I've got so much time on my hands. So it was like, go to training, come home, I could relax, didn't have to focus on doing like going through lectures, doing like assignments and stuff like that. It was literally focus, make sure I'm eating the right stuff, make sure I'm getting the right amount of sleep, and even just being able to go home and relax instead of, you know, going fatiguing myself like doing extra sessions. It was like, it was just a big transition, and it felt like it like helped me push on with my career.
It must have been a big step up moving on to that pro contract, because obviously then I imagine you're approaching sort of women's football. You're not in the youth leagues anymore. Can you tell us a bit about that, and maybe what the steepest learning curve is transitioning into full time?
I'd probably say like it, because it is so full time, like immersing yourself in it, like, and I think sometimes people can get too immersed in it and let it become something that, like, obviously if you then didn't make like a starting 11 one weekend, like letting it get you down so much. And obviously it is big, it's what we train for, we want to be in the starting 11, but I'd say something that I've like kind of focused on a lot is like, obviously I've got my football and stuff, but having something kind of outside of football that is like a hobby, an interest that can obviously take you away from that negative mindset sometimes. Yeah,
a lot of what we talk about on this podcast is sacrifice. Obviously with playing full time and not only working full time as a footballer, but also having to think about your sleep, what you're eating in the evenings, the weekends, not going out partying, that kind of thing. Is there anything in particular you feel that you've sacrificed that maybe you're looking forward to at the end of your career?
Yeah, I feel like, I mean, as a professional, you sacrifice a lot. Like, I'm now currently living 3.5 hours away from home, so you sacrifice birthdays, you sacrifice family weddings, you sacrifice a lot of things. So, like, even just being around your family, like, you sacrifice seeing, if you don't get home for like a long period of time, you sacrifice seeing people grow up, people getting older, like, and it's a lot. Like, so yeah, I'd say like the big things that you do sacrifice as a professional, but at the end of the day, if that's what you want to do and you want to like make it as a professional, they're things that you kind of have to put up with. But like, as long as you can like get home and see them now and then, like, it makes up for the lost time you've had.
What keeps you motivated?
I'd say making my family proud. Yeah, making my friends and family proud, like, keeps me motivated. And I think, yeah, from the conversation we had before about losing my brother, like, doing it for him, because he hasn't had the opportunity to do that from losing his life at 14. So for me, that's my biggest motivation, is to do everything I can for Connor.
Amazing. We'll go through a few quick fire questions.
Yeah.
What's your favourite pre-match meal?
Oh, it's a ritual for me. I have like sourdough bread with avocado and scrambled egg.
That's not bad. That's quite nice.
Yeah.
Some people just say like chips and beans. Like, you'd be surprised some of the things we get for that.
Yeah.
Favourite cheat meal?
Oh, I'd have to go burger and fries.
Burger and fries, not bad. And then do you have a favourite sporting hero?
Sporting hero, I'd probably say Steven Gerrard.
Yeah.
Although you're a United fan.
I know, I did know you were going to say that. Yeah, I mean, living where we live, we're surrounded by them, so it doesn't really matter. And finally, do you have any advice for a young person thinking about getting involved in sport more generally?
I'd just say, like, take every opportunity you can and make sure when you're doing that you have the most fun with it. Like, don't let like the fun drop out of what you're doing, because at the end of the day, if you want to make it as a footballer, you want to make it as an Olympian, anything, whatever your goal is in life, just make sure you have fun along the way with it, because it is fun, but it can be tough at times. But just, yeah, make sure you keep the fun element in it.
I think that's really good advice for just about anything in life. Thank you so much for joining us today. It's been great talking to you.
Yeah, thank you.
More than welcome. And thank you to everyone at home watching. It's been another episode of the Athlete Podcast, and we'll see you next time. Cheers.